Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the first of 3 FESPA webinars in association with Esko. Today's webinar is based on print workflow and how to prepare and optimize for your printing needs. Sadly, Russell Weller couldn't join us today for this specific webinar, but I do have Hildy van Ilteveld. Hildy has been working in the graphic industry for packaging and commercial printing for over 30 years. Her specialist field has been graphic workflows. Over the last 5 years, she's mainly been involved in the sign and display market, working in the marketing department at Esko as a software application specialist.
Okay, good afternoon to you all again. I am Hilde working for Esko at the headquarters office in Belgium. Welcome again to this webinar, Print Workflow, Prepare and Optimize. As you can see now on screen, I have written down a couple of slides which will guide you through the program of this afternoon. Okay, so first of all, we will go through an application which we call iCut Preflight, where we are able to correct PDF files. So we will open up PDF files and correct them, for example, by preflighting them with a certain profile. We can, of course, also do some replacements of images, do some text corrections, and also very important is creation of cutting paths. Also creation of bleed and running action lists. Then next to that, we will put everything together in one of our applications, which we call iCut Layout. There we need to enter, for example, ordered quantity. We can also have different nesting types, which could be minimum waste, minimum layouts, or guillotine cut. Apart from that, we also are able to add some iCut marks. And I will show you also some tiling of banners and billboards. And at the end, also some jigsaw tiling. Okay, just a little bit more on how the software works is the following. So the whole software, we call it iCut Suite. First of all, we will do some importing of files and we will pre-flight it based on a RIP. Also, some auto reporting and fixes can be done, and also some editing can be done. Then, in iCut Layout, we are able to do some nesting. So what we call this is intelligent nesting. Then also some front-back nesting, and also some tiling. Apart from that, we are also able to set up some Smartmarks. We can also do some creation of cutting paths if they are not available in a file, and also creation of bleed is possible. At the end of this all, we will send it to a large format printer, and afterwards we will do some perfect digital finishing with making use of iPad Vision Pro. Okay, so let's dive into the first application, which we call iCut Preflight. Okay, so first of all, I will show you how you can manage your preflight profiles. So when I open up one, of course, you can create one directly. You will see that for this particular job, we will do some checks on document format. So what is important here is the PDF version, yeah, to make sure that at the end, our output hardware, our RIP, can handle this version of PDF. Then we can also do some page info, checking on process colors, and if there is, for example, RGB used, then we can do straight away conversion to CMYK. Also a check on spot colors can be done, and also text. So for example, if you are going to print in a certain printing method, yeah, then we should also have a check on small text, for example, to make sure that at the end everything still remains readable. Also, image resolution is very important, so you can specify at least your images should have, for example, 150 dpi, and of course we don't want to let our RIP overkill our RIP, for example. So when resolution is too high, you can still reduce it. Okay, and apart from pre-flighting, I can also connect directly an action list onto it. And in this case, for example, we will do a setting of the almost black text to 100% black, and also we will crop invisible parts of images. Okay, let me perform now the pre-flighting. So I will go to Document, Pre-flight, and we will run our pre-flight list. Now, once I have done this, I will receive a window with all my errors and warnings. If we have a look onto this one, I can see, for example, that resolution of a color or grayscale image is less than 150. So by double clicking it, the system will zoom in and I will have a view onto the low res image. Now, if we have a look to the fill paint mode of this one, I can see then that this is an embedded image only with a resolution of 72 dpi. Now, you could do two things, of course. You could send this file back to your customer saying that the image is too low to give him a good quality, or if you have the high-res image on your system, you could replace it. So, and this is what I'm going to do now. So I will open up the high resolution of this image. Yeah, and directly I can see indeed now I have my image in my file, and this one is 273 dpi. The only thing that I still need to do is change the transparency of my masking. Okay, so now I'm sure that my image has the high resolution. You can also see as you are doing corrections that the error and warnings list will, your errors of course, will be disappearing from this list. Okay, let us see what we can do concerning text. For example, when I select some text, excuse me, yeah, so this is a complete text box, which means that when we read the PDF file, we still keep the text blocks. Now I'm going to do a text correction. Of course, the system will ask me whether I have a license for this font or not. If I say no, I don't have, no problem, it will be replaced by maybe a system font. Okay, now even if I want to do some text corrections, for example, another typeface, this is still possible. So text is kept as text. Okay, the next thing to do, if I have a look onto the file here, I can see that I have only 4 separations, C and YK, and I can't find any cutting path, which means that I will have to create one. Now I'm not going to draw it by hand, and I have some function in the preparation menu. So I could go to Cut Path tool, create cut path. Here I will do some specifications. So I will add an ink. I will ask the system to create a union of all visible objects, and I could ask also an offset of my cutting path. When I perform now create cut path, you will see that first of all an extra separation will be created, and also a cutting path will become visible in my file. Now just imagine that I have to send this to a certain rip, and to make sure that I don't have any font issues in my or during ripping, I will run an action list contourizing all my text. Okay, again, errors and warnings will tell me that convert the text to outline. Now, at the end of all of this, if you want to check what actions you have done onto this job, you can still ask for a history. And in the history, I can see, first of all, who's the user, even on which system is it on, what time it has taken, and also in the active session, all the manipulations that I have done. Okay. Now, we could say that this file is now ready for production. Now, I'm just going to show you another example of a sign, yeah, for example, this drawing. And in this case, the same thing. I have CMYK, no cutting path. So I will go to Preparation, Cut Path tool, and I will create a cutting path. And in this case, we are going to put the cutting path just along our graphics, like this. Now, if we would have to print this, no problem, but during cutting it could be due to some registration mistakes that I end up, for example, with a white border. To avoid that, I will create also bleed. Now, the way we create bleeds is simply by cloning pixels to the outside. So again, I will define my bleed distance, where to clone from, and I will add my bleed, and it's done on the fly. Another possibility, and I go back to the first sign now, is that just imagine that you have to create white underprint. There is also a direct function to do that. So I could say, okay, create white underprint with a white ink using all the visible objects, and I could say, okay, I want to have it at least, for example, 2 millimeters outside my cutting path, and then this would be the result. So you can see that we have a lot of editing tools, possibilities to really make this job, this graphics print ready and also cut ready. So as soon as this is all done, I can move over now to iCut layout. Okay, so I will go to iCut layout now, and we will start the job. Now to start the job, I need to enter some coordinates, like for example, the height and the width of my substrate of my plates. Yeah. Also, I could do this straight away in presets, which means that you can create a complete library of all your substrates and sizes you have within your company and simply pick them out of the list. Also concerning substrates, you can add all your substrates, for example, die bond with a different thickness, Falcon board, Forex, and so on. So this is all possible as a preset. So when I'm creating a document, I can say, okay, I'm taking the preset of a certain substrate, and I'm also going to add some substrate. Yeah. Now, by entering, for example, substrate Forex 3 millimeters, this will help me during my cutting process, because when this information is inside my job, on the Kongsberg cutting table, the right parameter file and cutting keys will be picked up. Okay, let us create now the document. Now, next to the document, what else do we have to do? We have to add the graphics. So I'm going to load up the graphic now, and in this case, I will take the final one. So I'm selecting the file. Yeah, and at this point of time, you will see that the small preview will be created, so you can really see on which files or jobs you are working. Remember, we were creating a cutting path. Automatically, the cut ink has been taken as cut path. This is something that we predefine in preferences defaults. So here I can say default die ink could be die, cut, stance, snail lane, or whatever. And then this ink name will be picked automatically as a cutting path. Then next to that, I have to tell the system how many pieces or what is the ordered quantity. And in this case, I'm simply going to fill my plate. So I'm going to give a maximum fill. Then I go to the layout, and in the layout, I will do certain settings. For example, where is my start fill point? What is my primary fill, horizontal or vertical? I can also do a setting of gutter, and in this case, as we are going to mill it, I have to make sure that I have diameter of milling bit multiplied by 2 and add some extra millimeters. So for example, here I can say, okay, 12 millimeters. Also concerning rotation of my graphics, I have the possibility to tell the system, for example, no rotation if my substrate has a flute direction. Or I could say only 180 degrees is allowed or allow 90 degrees. In this case, as we are going to print on Forex, I can say allow any angle. And even after nesting, I could ask the system to bring everything to the center of my plate. And then I say, okay, fine layout now. Now the system calculates, and this is the result. Yeah, and I believe you can never do this as quick or quicker by hand. Okay, now next thing to do here is to set up iCut marks. So I will go to Smartmarks. I will add some iCut marks and also give them the necessary settings. So in this case, we are choosing for a filled circle, could also be an outlined. And this one will be read it with the camera on the cutting table. Then the size is important. I can also enter a distance. I can say, okay, where should it be around the nested layout, or should it be around each cutting part? In this case, nested layout, on bounding box. For example, I could say left and right, and the quantity is 5. If I apply it, you will see that if I zoom in, I have some iCut marks in this area. Now, at the same time, we can also add a barcode. So I say add barcode, yeah, and I could, for example, choose for a vertical one. Then also I can enter the position. Should it be on the left side or on the right side? Where should it be attached to? In this case, I could say, okay, attached to job, and I apply it. Now you will see that you have a barcode. Now the barcode will be printed also on the substrate, but then at cutting time, I can read the barcode with any barcode reader that is connected, of course, and it will pick up the right cutting file automatically also. Okay, now if I see that my whole layout is complete, I could directly say, okay, export to production file. And here you will see that, for example, CMYK is my to be printed inks, and my cut ink will be exported for cutting. So also here for the print file, you can do certain settings. And also for the cutting file, you can define which file type it should be. So it could be an iCut file if you have an iCut camera. It could be also HPGL, it could be PDF, MFG, or ACM. In this case, we will choose PDF file because then afterwards I can show it live. So I will say now, okay, I give a name onto my layout. Yeah, and we will export it. Also, a small report can be created. So in this case, I say, okay, export the file. Now, a file will be exported in PDF file format for printing, and a cutting file will be exported for cutting. Now, if I go to my location here, and now we can do a check. So what is the result? So first of all, I have my file to be printed. So I will open it up in Acrobat Reader. So you will see that I have my layout. It will be printed, and also my iCut marks. And one moment, we give it some time so it can be loaded. So at this moment, we have our signs, we also have our iCut marks, and we also have our barcodes. Let me now also open up the cutting file, or maybe the small report, which is a simple JPEG file, low res, that could go with the order so people know what file is coming or what jobs need to be finished. And on the other hand, of course, we have also an export of the cutting file, and there you will see now that only the cutting part will be exported, and in a separate layer we will also have these registration marks. Let me just go back now to my layout, because there is something else to be explained here. Now just imagine that you're printing on vinyl, yeah, and we all know if you print on vinyl that the end result will be distorted. What we will do here is with the Smartmarks, I will add some more register marks, and I will tell the system around each cutting path, not on the bounding box, but distributed. And I say, okay, you just throw 40 circles onto my layout. Now you will see that I have much more I-cut marks, and this is to do the compensation of the cutting path towards the printed result, to make sure that cutting path is fitting the sign again. Okay, so this for signs. Now, I would like to show you also a front-back workflow. So I'm going to create new document, selecting my front-back sizes. So my sheet height will be 700 and my width will be 1000. Now the margins that are specified here are the print-free zones or the cutting or milling-free zones around the plate. Also here for front-back workflow, we can fill in already the backing up system. So if it will be a work and turn or a work and tumble. Okay, so once my plate has been created, I can now go to graphics and I will add my files. In this case, I will select 3 files, 3 different files, different sizes. Yeah, and in advance, I will tell the system that place the multi-page files on front back. So you will see that automatically when I do this, one station or one graphic will already have 2 pages, so a front and a back page. Yeah. Now we have this sign here on screen. We can do some quality check, and what I see is that also in this case we don't have any bleed, so I will have to add. Now remark here also that the background is built up with images, so we will have to go to preparation, create bleed, and in this case we will have a real pixel cloning of the image. Create, and there it is. Now if you want to see the cloning, you will see that indeed 1 pixel is taken and it's cloned to the outside. So that is how we handle and how we can create bleed onto files which doesn't have any bleed. So in this case we can make sure that when we have to finish this sign that it will be perfectly okay. Now I would have to do this action normally for those 6 pages or the 3 graphics front back. So what I can do here is I can select the 3 of them, go to more actions, create bleed, and I'm going to do the same thing. Force cloning, and now the bleed will be applied onto all these images. Okay, now we have bleed on all the images. The only thing I still need to add is the ordered quantity. So in this case, for example, 10 pieces each. And for example, this small one, I need a lot of them. So I'm going to ask a maximum fill, which means I will have a layout, 2 fixed ordered quantities. And this one, I don't know how many will fit on the plate, but later on I can read it out. Then I will go to layout and we will do some other settings. For example, just imagine that this is knife cutting. It could be 0 or the gutter could be smaller. Okay, and then we are going to search for our layout. So now you will see that my layout has been created. Yeah, and at just 1 click, I can also see the backside. Now what is very nice here is that, for example, when I remove certain things, and for example, when I start to move, so you can also see that you can move by hand, yeah? So when I move certain graphics, if I go back to my front side, you will see that all these corrections are added also to my front side. This means that we always keep a dynamic link between front and back. So again, just imagine I remove 2 signs, I go to my back side, and you will see that everything is OK also on my backside. So this, I think, is very powerful and yeah, powerful indeed. But what I want to say is that we keep always the dynamic relation between front back. Okay, let me tell you more about our nesting types. Yeah, so this was a minimum layout or minimum waist nesting, but we can also work for guillotine cut. So concerning guillotine cut, what are the settings that we have to do? We have to tell the system what is the first cut, yeah, what is the gutter going to be, and do you allow some overrun? So for example, I can tell the system that okay, a 10% overrun is okay. Now you can also see that I have less possibilities of rotation because of the guillotine cut. Now I say okay, find layout, and you will see now that indeed we can cut this with a guillotine cutter. And for example, if I change the first cut, of course the whole layout will be changing. Okay, if this file is ready, for example, the only thing we still need to do is to add some icon marks, yeah, which you can prepare once and then load them each time in another file. And this would be the result then. Now, if I go to export files, you will see that also I have CMYK, but I can see I have crease lines, which will also be finished on the cutting table. So here with one click, I can say, okay, the crease lines and the cut needs to be exported to cutting file. Okay, let me move over now to tiling, and I will show you an example of tiling of banners. Okay, again, I will have to select a certain document setup, and the same thing, I will load my graphics, and I will load my green banner. Now, if we talk about banners and billboards, we know that these sizes can be very big. For example, a billboard could easily be 7 by 10 meters. A banner can easily be 2 meters by 7 meters. Now, as you probably know that the file format PDF as such has a limitation of physical size of 5 by 5 meters. So a lot of these files are made on a certain percentage of the file. So in this case, I can simply say, okay, let me enlarge it for 250%. Then I will go to my one-up, and specifically for a banner, I will need a special smart mark, which we call eyelet mark. So I know that for this type of jobs, I need some eyelet marks. What does it do? It will, for example, I can specify now the hem, yeah. I could say, okay, the distance to hem is halfway, and what is my maximum interval? So from eyelet to eyelet, what is the maximum size that could be in between? Just imagine that this is 40 centimeters, yes, and then I can say, okay, apply. Now I will zoom in just to show you what the system actually done is setting register marks of the eyelet marks. So in this case, I could say, okay, this is rather small because the file is much bigger. So I could say, okay, we are going to enlarge the mark, yeah, and I will apply it again. Okay, so now you will see that you have a nice mark that can be printed either in all colors, in darkest, or for example, I could say only in black on top of everything. So once this is done, we can start now by tiling up the banner. Now for that one, I will go to tiling, banner. Now in this case, vertically, I will have only one piece, and horizontally, I will decide to make 9 pieces. Yeah. Now, as soon as I have my figures here, I can also see the size of one tile. I could also do it the opposite. I could say, okay, this should be, for example, 1200. Then you will see that it will be divided in 3 pieces. But in this case, we will keep it on 9 pieces. If I say OK, then I will have a next possibility here to include overlaps. So I will switch it on and I will explain to you. Now, I have tiles from the left, so numbered from the left to the right. I could also have the opposite, that I have from the right to the left. So you can see the numbers here. So I know then which tile is overlapping the other one. So in this case, I will keep it like this. And I'm able to tell the system also that at least I will need 10 millimeters of overlap. And for example, I could also specify a glue area, which will be a blank, not printed area. Okay, when this is finished, I can still add a mark here, a tile mark, to add some text, so afterwards we can still know which is tile 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I say, okay, create tiling. Now the file will be tiled, and here I will have all my separate pieces. Then I go to layout, minimum waste, okay, do all my settings, and then we will find the layout. Now you will see that automatically the system will generate 9 layouts because I have 9 pieces for my banner. Now also here I can say, okay, let me have a look. So this is the Smartmark that is added. So you will see from tile to tile a number has been added. So file name and then the number of the tile. Now in this case, when I say export to production file, it will export all the layouts, yeah. And in my settings, I can define that the output should be a multi-page PDF file. So one PDF file for 9 layouts. Okay. Another sample or another way of tiling is, for example, tiling for billboard. Again, I'm going to do my sheet preset. So I'm going to select a certain document setup. All right. Again, I will load my graphic. Okay. And for this graphic, I'm going to scale it up on 2000%. So in this case, again, I will go for tiling. And here you will see that specifically or for billboard that I can say, okay, let me tile it up by 3 by 3. And you will see that I will have then tiles that have a height of 2200 and almost 1600 in the width. And again, the same thing. Now I can tell the system what are my overlaps. And here maybe it will be much more clear or become clear that, for example, if it's an outdoor billboard, my first tile could never be in the top left, because if I go to glue it like this, I would run the risk that, for example, in this case, tile 4 will loosen. I mean, by rain that is falling on it, and it can be removed from the billboard. So in this case, I will put the first tile on either the left side or the right side. Then also the readable or the tiles order can be defined. So I could say 1, 2, 3 and then followed like this snake-wise, or like this 1, 2 and then 4 next to 3 and then in this way. Okay, let me just keep it like this. And again, the same specifications. So we need for sure some overlap and also some glue area. Okay, and then the only thing what we still need to do is to tell the system, create tiles, and you will see that now I will have all my separate tiles. Of course, you can also do it irregular. The next thing I would like to show is jigsaw tiling, or for example, lettering. Yeah, so let me just choose a document setup. Again, I will load the graphic, And in this case, I will show you how we can handle puzzles. So I will go to the one-up, and you can see that I have a drawing within my file. So the only thing I need to do is to select the line work, and then go to my tools, jigsaw tiling. And now we are going to make sure that each puzzle piece after milling will still fit into one another. Should be clear here that if I do a knife cutting, I don't have to pull out the puzzle pieces. If I do milling, I have to extract them from one another. So in this case, I can tell the system now, per tile, I still need 2 millimeters of bleed, and my milling compensation will be, and this will be then the dimension of the milling bits. As soon as this is ready, I can say create tiles. And now you will see that I have my separate puzzle pieces. The only thing I need to do again is to make sure that I put them in a layout. Yeah, and now you can see that they are really nicely having bleed all around, and I'm sure that this piece will fit into the puzzle. Okay, so what should be or what is the added value here is that first of all we can do corrections onto PDF files. We can put everything into layout, nest it in an intelligent way, we can handle tiling and so on. Okay, just for you to see that really the intelligent nesting is indeed very intelligent, I will just show you another example where you can see how as the calculation of the layout is busy, how everything will be nested. And therefore I have some small designs. I will open them up. Okay. Also, for example, I could say what is the ordered quantity. For example, 5 pieces each. We go to layout. I say minimum waste. We do a certain way of calculating. I also tell the system that any angle is allowed, and we can let the system calculate the layout now. Okay, and let me just show you something else. So I will do Smartmarks. So just for in the meantime, I will remove the Smartmark set, go to my graphics, and I want to see more, or my my ordered quantity. I'm going to enlarge it, for example, saying that 25 each. And of course, I could say for one sign that at least I need 50 of those, and maybe also from the giraffes, for example, I want 40 pieces. So you can see they don't have to have all the same ordered quantity. You can specify specific quantities for each graphic. Okay, let me choose now nested type, nesting type, and I'll find the layout. So now you will see that very nicely as designs are fitting or can be nested, that the system will calculate till it has the most optimized layout. Okay, now this brings me to the end of this session. Yeah, and my question to you now is, do you have any questions?
Right. Thank you very much, Hildy, for your presentation. That was fantastic, and I believe that everyone here enjoyed that very much so. We do have a couple of questions that have come through, and I believe we have about 5 more minutes to run through these. So
Okay.
I will ask you them very quickly. One of them was, are there any other kind of quick pieces of information or advice you could give to improve and optimize my printing using the Esko iCut Studio?
Uh, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Of course, of course. Just what one of the questions was: are there any quick methods or pieces of advice for me to be able to improve my uh, and optimize my printing using the Esco iCut Studio?
Well, indeed, I think, as we all know, preparation of graphics is probably the most important part. Yeah. The only condition, yeah, for our solution is that your cutting path is in a spot color. Yeah. And if you could tell this, of course, it's not always easy, but if you could bring this message over to your customers, then I believe iCut layout is the quickest way to optimize your printing process. I don't know if this is answering your question.
I believe it is. I'm not too sure, but we shall see if they have returned from there. But uh, another question we have, which was, is there any other Esco products that can run alongside the iCut Studio that can help me with my optimization of my printing?
Yes, and I believe maybe the biggest part you already have in-house, being the application, interactive application Illustrator, yeah. And on top of Illustrator, Esco has written a lot of plugins which will make your Illustrator more a more productive system, yeah, concerning separation handling, quality control, and so on. So I believe, yes, next to iCut Preflight and iCut Layout, you could upgrade your Illustrator software with ESCO plugins.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Hildy. One other question we had was, is there any sorts of limitations in size and format for images that I can put into the iCut software?
As far as we know, no. Yeah, because the way it works is that we import external, not external, I'm sorry, generic PDF files, yeah, and we don't do any normalization. So in other words, the files don't have to run through a conversion in one way or another. Yeah. What I forgot to mention, and this is very important, it's not only generic PDF files that we can load, but also Illustrator files and all the image file formats like PSD files, TIFF files, and also onto these images we can create bleed, very important. So we can even create a cutting path and we can create bleed around.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your presentation and for the Q&A today, Hildy. I believe that a lot of us have been able to take something away from this today. And I would also like to thank all of our attendees for joining us today for this webinar. Um, I would also like to say that we do have two more in the series from in association with ESCO for FESPA webinars coming in the next few weeks. You can find all of the details of this information on our Facebook page or on our website under the events category. I would like to thank you all for attending and bid you all a good day. Thank you.